let's be honest, usually cars are shit investments.
You're thinking about buying a car. Let me give you a new idea. Don't.
No one in their right mind goes out of their way to buy a car and expect to make money from it. Except that's exactly what I did. In 2016, I took you guys along with me to pick up my first supercar, a brand new Lamborghini Huracan. And after almost 7 magnificent years, last year in 2023, I finally sold it. I have in front of me a list of all the expenses, everything that I paid to have the car, as well as the income that I made from having it. And it's kind of interesting. So let's talk about it. First things first, I bought the car on the 8th of October, 2016, brand new for $470,000. And then I sold it last year in June of 2023 for $385,000 net. So the depreciation was $85,000. And that was the biggest expense of all of the expenses, was the depreciation. And honestly, for 7 years, almost 7 years, I think the depreciation is pretty good. I was pretty impressed by that. Lambos have held their value very well. So I'm pretty happy with that. To only lose 85 depreciation after that period of time, not too bad. The next biggest expense was insurance, and that was $81,600. Specifically, when I first got the car, I was still in my 20s, and so I was paying $1,300 a month at one point, which is a little bit ridiculous. After a few more years, I got older and I changed insurance companies and got it way down to $600 a month. But total, $81,600. The next biggest expense after that was interest, because right at the start, when I bought the car, I borrowed. I got a finance for it, a 4-year shuttle mortgage. And back in the day, we had 3.9% interest rates. So it was a no-brainer to finance the car. I was investing money at that time at 8 to 10% per year, and I borrowed at 3.9 to buy the car. It was the obvious choice. I've made heaps of videos on that in the past. I mean, these days with the interest rates the way they are, I don't think that would be the best play. I'm buying cash now just because I don't want to fucking pay 7% interest on anything. 8%, some of these fuckers. Fuck that shit. The next biggest expense was servicing, which for all of those years totaled $21,000. And so when I first bought the car, honestly, the servicing was quite cheap. There was a couple of $1,500 services, $2,000 services once a year, which for a $500,000 car, I thought wasn't too bad. At around the 4-year mark, I think it was, they had a big one and they fucking had to change the spark plugs and the flux capacitor and all the thing. And that was $4,500. And then right at the end, because the car was so old, not because I had even burnt out the tires, but they were sitting there for so long that they started cracking, these fucking tires. And so I had to get new tires and do all the thing. And that was $11,000 the last service. So I should have sold it probably a year or two earlier. And so, yeah, so $21,000 for all-time servicing. And then also what I did is I put a body kit on it. I got a Vorsteiner body kit from the States shipped in, and that was $18,000 landed and fitted as well. Just to make it look a little bit different, I think the default Huracan looked like a bit of a chode. It wasn't quite finished off, so I put this body kit on it, which I thought looked pretty cool. So all in, the total cost of having the car was $267,640 for almost 7 years, which works out to be just over $3,000 per month, which again, I thought was not too bad. Now the question is how much did I make from having it? And this is cool. I'm going to split this section into 4 subcategories. And I'm going to call it how I doubled my money from buying a Lamborghini. And the 4 subcategories is cash money, connections, experiences, and feeling. So the first section is cash money. How much cash did I make from having the car? And so what you got to understand is I made a video on this YouTube channel in 2016 of me picking it up, and it's had just under 300,000 views. I also put the video on Facebook, which got just under 400,000 views. And so 600,000 views on my delivery video, which for my number of followers is a lot. And what you've got to understand is that when you have an online business, it's all a numbers game. Under the video on YouTube and under the video on Facebook, I had a link to my product of the time, and it's changed over the years now. But as a general rule of thumb, I work on 1 in every 100 will click the link. So on 600,000 views, 6,000 people will click the link and go and check out my offer. Now, honestly, that's conservative, but 1 in 100's a nice round number and easy to do calculations. And so 6,000 people landing on my page, just so that you know, my current page where I send people now, which is my main business, schoolofmastery.com, that page converts at 3.5% into a lifetime value of $1,100. So what that looks like is that for every 100 people who land on the page, 3.5% of them will join our membership. And on average, each member is worth about $1,100 to us over their lifetime. So that's $3,850 for every 100 visitors, or $38.50 per visitor. Now, if I go and buy a Lamborghini and film it and put it on the internet and get 600,000 views, 6,000 of which will click the link under the video and check out my offer. That's $231,000 just like that. The car's almost paid for itself just from the video that I filmed of me picking the car up. And then you say, well, there's expenses and it's not all profit. Well, our products run at 93% profit margin, and so it's mostly profit. And so even if you rounded it down to $200,000, I think that would be fair. But I think it is absolutely fair game and conservative to say that the delivery video that we filmed of picking the car up made $200,000 cash money. Part 2, connections. We've met so many incredible people. Honestly, it's worth having a Lambo just for that. We have the Urus now, and I don't drive it much. If I have to go to the shop, I'll default to the Tesla. I love my Teslas. But the Urus, it's worth having it just for the invites. The people are incredible. We've met so many inspiring and amazing people who not only we've built great friendships with, but also they stretch. Some of these fuckers are very, very successful, way more successful than us, you understand? It's like before getting into the car scene, it's like we didn't have a huge network of people who are vastly further than us on the journey. And so you buy the car, you get into the community now. And that makes a big difference. There's a rubbing off effect, 100%. They think bigger, some of these fuckers, they think bigger, and they spill that over to you via the osmosis and make you think bigger. They stretch your mind. That's worth having the car. Even, it's unbelievable. And now, there is an osmosis, there is a rubbing off. There is you rub shoulders with people. There is this idea that you can't put your hand in the pot of glue without some of it sticking. All of that is true. But on top of that, there's also a very tangible technical component of that, is because one of the connections that we made was our dear friends, the Pajama Bosses. And at our old apartment, where we were in the basement there, we were driving out to breakfast one morning in the Lambo. And they stopped us down in the basement and they said, hey, what do you guys do? We see the car. They stopped us because of the car, to talk about the car and ask us what we do and what business we're into. As it turns out, they had their own online business, very, very successful, and we become friends. And we're still friends to this day. And we had lunch together and we started catching up, having some dinner and paella together. One night we were having dinner with the Pajama Bosses and we were talking about business, and they gave me one idea. They said, why don't you get your product the way it is now and rebrand it and spruce it up, give it a fresh name, throw in some more value, change the pricing, and then sell it on a 4-part video series, which is a funnel that they were doing in their business and doing really, really well with it. And they said it will work really well. We did that a couple of weeks later, and just that offer launch made us $350,000 in one weekend. Okay, and then we kept selling it, and so hundreds of thousands of dollars after that as well. So just that one conversation was worth at least $350 to us. Now, it gets better because months and months go on, and I had another conversation with Miguel this one time, and I was explaining to him that I was a bit stressed in my current business and I kind of wanted to break away from it and not have staff because I wanted a more fluid life. And he's like, well, why don't you just launch a low-ticket subscription product? I've got the volume and just push it, and then you have a very fluid life. And I did, and I called it the Mastermind. It turned into School of Mastery, which is my current product, which is millions of dollars in now. And so that one connection, conservatively has probably made me millions of dollars. But, if, to be really conservative, if I just attribute a couple of $100,000 to it, I think is fair. What I'm saying is that friendship would not have started without the car. They pulled us over in the car park because of our car to talk about the car because it was a unique car. There were 220 other residents where we lived. They didn't stop everyone in the basement. They stopped us because of the car. The car was a conversation starter that led to an incredible friendship for one, but genuine conversations at a higher level that help you in business make more money. Number 3, the experiences. The Lambo experiences are exceptional. I said before that the car cost us just over $3,000 a month net total. It's like if you could join a club for $3,000 a month and have some of the experiences that we've had over the last 7 years of being in the club, it would be worth it if it was just a membership fee, let alone enjoying the car as well. It's unbelievable, actually. One year they hired out the Phillip Island racetrack down in Melbourne, filled it with a bunch of Lamborghinis and invited all the owners. And so we flew down, got on a chopper, chop it across to this island racetrack. And as we're choppering in, all these Lamborghinis are just ripping around this racetrack. We land, race the cars around the track all day, have lunch, and then chopper home. Every year we go to the Formula One in Melbourne and they have a paddock club suite there right over the pit lane, which is incredible. And you eat your weight in caviar and oysters and all the snacks and all the thing and the champagne. And we drink the too much champagne is what we drink. And then they put on bloody dinners and soirees. It's ridiculous. And they run those events at a loss as well, by the way, for our bloody enjoyment. It's really cool. The experiences and the connections is worth it just for that. And then number 4 is the feeling. And this part might be a little bit more esoteric and hard to measure. But when you feel good about yourself, you do better work. And when you do better work, you get better results. And so, well, you guys know when you're going out and you dress up for the night, the lads might put on a nice suit and look real good. The ladies might do some makeup and their hair, and you look good. It's not the way you look normally every day. But you know the feeling of when you dress up to put your best foot forward and you look good and you're feeling confident, you feel more confident. You hold yourself differently. There's some air about how you feel affects how you show up. And I mean, it's a car, but it can have that effect. You go down, well, you wake up in the morning, you go down to the basement, you put the bloody garage door up, boom, beautiful car that elicits this emotion. So they're sexy fucking cars. And it's like, this is cool. You get in the car, the sound, it's visceral. The experience of, shifting up the gears, down the gears, and people are looking in the photos, like you feel good about yourself. Now, over 7 years, I mean, you kind of get used to it, and admittedly, and it doesn't have the same feeling as when you first get it. But when you first get it, there is some value in that feeling. Hard to measure. I don't have a dollar figure on that, but it makes a difference. So in my case, I buy this car. It cost me $267,000 total. I film it, I put it on the internet, and I make $200,000 from the video. As a result of owning the car, I meet new people and make incredible connections and genuine friendships. On top of that, some of the friends teach me how to make more money. And in the case of the pajama bosses, I literally have made hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the attribution is a little bit tricky to dial in and be really accurate, but potentially millions of dollars from that one connection. Okay, the experiences are like nothing else, and I've had so many incredible memories with Robin that we've made and experiences that we've had just from being part of the club. And then, by the way, every morning you go down to the garage and you see the Lamborghini there, and you get in it and you start it up, and the smells and the sounds and the feeling of the Alcantara and the leather, and you drive it around town, and you feel good. It's like dressing up when you go out at night and putting your best foot forward, putting your best clothes on. You feel good. So if you're watching this video and you're making, say, $10,000 a month, and you think, maybe I should stretch and buy a Lamborghini. Lewis said I'll get a return on investment. I'm going to meet all these great people and do all these awesome things, and I'll have to spend all of my bloody income to do it. I would say don't do that. That's not smart. But some of you are at a point where you could afford it with a little bit of a stretch, but there's a voice in your head saying cars are ridiculous investments, I'm going to lose money and all this kind of stuff. All I'll say is that depending on your business and depending on how you maximize the opportunity to get into your dream car, there are situations and circumstances where you absolutely can get a return on investment. In some cases, you're better off having a Lambo than not having one. That has been the case for me.